Hey everyone, it's Bonnie from Union Fibre. Today I am excited to show you the colorway from the August Mystery Yarn and Fibre Club. I started doing this club just in the last month, and it's called the Mystery Fibre and Yarn Club, but part of the mystery is actually not just in what colorway people are getting every month, but it's actually sort of based on my love of myth and fairy tale and folklore and story. So the colorway for August is called the Selkie Bride. The Selkie Bride is a myth that really struck me. And I think this is one of the reasons I love myth and fairy tale, because at the heart of it, they are archetypal experiences. They are sort of ancient stories that help us come alive. They help us comprehend certain experiences, whether internal or external, that we are having. And I think that's why we often see similar myth and fairy tale that are remade into tons of different story, but at the premise you can sort of see that there are archetypal, foundational kind of characters or expressions playing out. And so for me, the Selkie Bride was a myth that I came across in a really wonderful book called Motherhood that a friend of mine loaned me. And it's by Lisa Marciano, and she's a Jungian analyst. And the book is full of myth and fairy tale that helps to give, I guess, context and meaning, really. It's about meaning. Sort of brought out for me, but the lived experience of being someone who is very fiery and creative and has tons of ideas and creative energy, but oftentimes lacks the earthiness to bring things into being and to bring things into a crystallized, actualized form. And instead, there's a part of me, this Selkie part of me, and this Selkie is a mythical figure that's a seal under the water, but it sheds its skin to be able to walk on earth as a human. And so this Selkie spirit, I really understand, because it loves to swim in the ocean, which as symbol is the collective unconscious. It's the boundaryless realm of creativity, of imagination and dreams and mystery. And so there's something very liberating for that creative spirit to be unbound. It's uncontained. It doesn't have a leash on it. It's completely like anything is potential. But therein lies the key, is that it's potential. It's not actualized. And so without within the story of the Selkie Bride, there's a farmer, and I'll run through the story quickly. And the farmer represents the earthy part of us that might come across as restricting and limiting to a spirit like the Selkie, but in actuality is a key part of creative potential becoming real in form and being actualized. So if we have all of these great ideas and these like big dreams and imagination, and we want to do all these things without an earthy part of us, it can be really hard to bring these things in. And so we can flip through life having tons of potential, and also feeling that nagging thing of, oh, I have so much potential, but I can never live up to it. Why can't I live up to it? Why can't I make these things happen? And we can often feel really flaky and really like that there are parts of us that are so underutilized. And I think by reading stories like the Selkie Bride, it can help to understand that there are sort of parts of us that if we can comprehend them more and be more aware of them and bring them into being, that we can do more, we can actualize more, that potential suddenly becomes real. And so anyway, I will quickly go into the Selkie Bride, the story of the Selkie Bride. It's just a short story, but for me, it definitely resonated as a creative, but also it definitely struck something within me in a bit of a pained way of my experience of mothering, of becoming a mother at a young age, unexpectedly, of, just the feeling of when you're young, you kind of feel like you have the world at your fingertips. And then when you suddenly come into motherhood, it can feel kind of overwhelming, and we're suddenly locked into this potential. My cat is trying to get down out of the rafters. So the story of the Selkie Bride, a lonely farmer happens upon three beautiful maidens singing under the moonlight on midsummer. And he is stricken. He desperately wants to make one of them his wife. And so he consults a wise woman, and the wise woman says to him that at the next midsummer, you have to steal one of their skins, and then you'll be able to take her and make her your wife. And so he waits for the next midsummer, and as the three maidens are dancing under the moonlight, he sneaks up in the shadows and he steals one of the skins. And the Selkies startle, and they don their skins. Two of them don their skins and they jump into the water. And they're there in the waves calling for their sister, but their sister is standing naked because she can't find her skin because the farmer's taken it. And so the Selkie is standing there naked and alone and shivering and longingly staring out at the sea. And the farmer says to her, I will take care of you, I will look after you, I'll be kind and good to you if you'll come with me and be my wife. And so the Selkie follows him. And he's as good as his word. He takes really good care of her. She dutifully looks after the house. And eventually she bears several children. And they all have her beautiful, soulful brown eyes. And the Selkie mum is often seen standing at the beach, staring out to the ocean at twilight. And her youngest son comes up to her one day and says to her, why does father keep this seal skin tucked away behind a loose brick? And the Selkie startles and says, what? Show me. So the son takes her back, shows her where the sealskin is. The Selkie gives him a warm hug. She turns away, runs back to the shore, dons the skin, dives into the ocean, and is never seen again. And there's so much symbol in the story. There's a more detailed story that's a brief sort of rundown, but from an internal experience as someone who's creative, it's very much, when I'm looking at myth, I try to see it as that all components of the myth, all the characters, everything represents sort of a whole of one's own psyche. So the farmer is part of me, the Selkie is part of me, the children, the creative offspring. There are the ocean, the earth. And so it can be really helpful to look at it when we're examining our own psyche to learn which characters we relate to and which ones we find that we're ambivalent to. So we might look at this story and go, oh gosh, the farmer stole her skin, like how unfair. But at the same time, a Selkie will never actualize her potential, her creative potential, without that union with the farmer. And there are lots of Selkie myths, actually, from different parts of the world. There are ones from up in the Arctic. And in some of them, the relationship there's more strife. In other ones, there's more harmony. And so it really depends how these parts of us play out internally. So if we're looking at it from that point of view, as a relationship to psyche and soul and that kind of a thing. So So for me, it was definitely that feeling of, as someone who's really fiery, if we look at fire as an element, it doesn't like to be contained. If you put it into a jar, put a lid on, it snuffs it out. If you try and contain fire in something, it explodes. It's volatile. It needs space. It needs to not be tethered and contained. But at the same time, you can see relationships of fire and earth, like that lightning is fire in the sky. But when it makes its mark, it meets the ground, it meets the earth. And so there's this interesting interplay that happens where it's again, you can see it as floating around in that sea of potential up in the sky. And that when it meets the earth, it all of that potential hits one point. And it can be a little bit like that as well when we can bring some earthiness in, and earthiness representing things even like structure. So earth is like rigid, it's fixed. So from a creative point of view, to have that earthiness, that structure, something to help us ground ourselves, that's what we talk about when we're feeling this state of too much going on in our head or our imagination. We talk about grounding ourselves and bringing ourselves back down to earth, right? And so that's very much what the farmer represents to the Selkie, and why it can be a harmonious union if it feels that there's enough awareness from the farmer that the Selkie is in fact this wild kind of fiery energy that does still need to have that relationship with ocean, with her ocean environment, but at the same time, that he's able to offer her the structure and containment that can be helpful if there's a balance. And so I do love it from a creative point of view of being someone who's fiery, and that it sort of helped me to understand certain things to prioritize in my life, like structure and routine, and understanding that if I really want to get somewhere, that it can be hard to do those earthly obligations, things like doing the dishes, getting the groceries, making sure that, just simple things like for some creatives, like making sure you're having your routine, feeding yourself at regular intervals, I'm sure this is so relatable to people who are really creative, that sometimes if we get in a flow state, we can go for hours and then wind up shaking out of the studio and being hangry and just wanting to eat the very first thing that comes into contact with us, whether or not that's our partners, we can become feral. And so it's good to have an awareness of what is earthy, and therefore what can sort of help ground me and help me actualize all this creative potential, rather than sort of feeling like a flake and having this just kind of go everywhere. So I don't know if that resonates with some people, but it definitely resonated with me when I read it. And this book has just a wonderful several pages of analysis attached to the story in lots of different ways, but again, mostly relating to motherhood. And that was another way that it definitely struck me was, my experience of becoming a mother. I think it's different for all of us, but I was young. It was very unexpected. And at that time in my life, for most everybody I knew was out, either traveling or studying, or it was a real sense of being free. And for me to suddenly find myself pregnant and having to learn that role of motherhood and get into those... just get into the routines, and also the relentlessness of it, that day in, day out, everything is sort of, you're pouring yourself into this amazing creative offspring, because our creative offspring can be art, but it also can be our little humans, it all stems from that same creative energy. And so for some mothers, it's an incredibly hard initiation, and one that can feel like our skin is being stolen. And it's so to read Myth and feel the truth of the experience, that archetypal foundational layer of how hard it can be to navigate experiences that can feel so raw and hard. To know that there are ways of making it bearable and wonderful, and to know that through learning to accept those earthy parts of ourselves, to accept that union with the farmer, to know that actually there's so much potential that is able to be actualized when we can find parts of ourselves, remember parts of ourselves, know where to look, and or at least know where to seek and try to unearth parts of ourselves. And yeah, it's for some people, mothering is a natural thing where you might be someone who's very earthy. And, you know, my daughter's like this. It's like she knows deeply how to care for people in a way that isn't self-sacrificing, but from a genuinely nourishing, nurturing place. Whereas some of us, we're not innately like that. It's a hard learning experience, and it's one that is long, but it's worth the disciplined effort to do it, which is exactly what Earth also represents. The element of Earth is about slow, steady, disciplined efforts that pay off down the line, not necessarily right off the bat, which is often what a Selkie wants. You know, we want immediate gratification. We want to feel that intensity that sea of creativity can bring us, you know, and our imagination often will tell us like, oh, this is going to be such a wonderful experience and amazing. I mean, another mothering experience I had recently was getting a puppy and thinking like, this is going to be the most wonderful, beautiful experience. I can't wait. And man, was it hard, you know, like our puppy's 6 months old now, but it, again, that relentlessness where you're up with them first thing in the morning, your hands and ankles are torn to shreds, you know, if they have no bite inhibition, which ours didn't, blue healer. So it takes a while of like literally painful efforts of slowly earning that joy and like those beautiful experiences. Oh, really, Kat? Like, do you have to sit there meowing at me? I'll leave the door open. You can come in. I'll see if I have any battery left in here because I definitely don't want to run out of battery. Are you coming in? Come on. I have a cat who's trying to get in the garage. It's been so muddy and rainy, and it's like a mud pit out my door. And my cat goes back and forth. She's my little shadow, and which is so symbolic. Anyway, what are you doing now, Kat? Are you just going to sit over there meowing at me somehow? She's trying to get the mud off of her paws. So, gosh, I don't even know where I was, but I think I was just getting to the point where, yeah, it's just in order to help us comprehend certain internal and external experiences, myth can just be so helpful in that process of meaning making and in that slog of existence. I like that. Oh no, Cat, don't get your muddy paws on there. Okay, I'm just gonna have to hold my cat. No, you're not allowed on there. No, you can hear her. She's got asthma. Oh, that's one of the, yeah. You're my little clingy cat, aren't you? My little baby. I put you away. Love of myth and fairy tale for the meaning that it can bring to difficult experiences. And it kind of feels a little bit like a balm for the soul when I read certain myths and something just pings inside of me and goes, yes, I understand, that's exactly what it is. And it's not just me. I think that's part of it too, is we can feel so alone in our struggles. And because there's so much wrapped up in it. Sometimes there's shame. Sometimes there's just a total unawareness. Is that even a word? Of the fact that, like, these are archetypal struggles that so many people go through. And for some reason we just think, oh, it's just me. I must be inept. I'm not a good mom, or I'm a flake, or I'm all these things. And it can really beat us up on our self-esteem and cause us to become like more insular, and which makes the struggle feel even bigger. And so, yeah, I think by all I wanted to do with this yarn club is to share, I guess, just the experience of being human and the experience of, like, yes, I dye yarn, but I'm not a dyer, like I'm more than that. I'm a woman who is also a mother who struggles at times, but who also experiences great joy and beautiful experiences. And one of the things that has made my experience just in life much better is these kinds of things which connect me to something greater, something that just feeds my soul and connects me to other people. Again, Union Fibre was something that I created at a time when I was in the pits of mothering, actually, like in really hard places where we had just moved out of the city. I felt isolated. I had young kids, and this huge creative spirit, my Selkie spirit, that was just like yearning to go back into the ocean. And so Union Fibre was born, and I loved being able to get into the dye pots, my little ocean in my dye pots, and create yarn and bring that Selkie spirit and the farmer together to actually like bring something to life and create something that I could then actually share with other people as well. That's probably a lot more than most people expected this to be about. Or with close friends who know me really well and know the depths at which I dwell. Yeah, it's just, you gotta have some things that can help you make meaning out of difficult situations and find the light in those dark places. And so for me, it's definitely my craft, but it's also, I often have my nose deep in books, and I just love stories and myth and folklore and fairy tale, and it just connects me to something meaningful that feeds my soul. And after all that, I will show you the colors that I did. I wanted to create that oceanic realm for the Selkie because she needs her ocean. And so I created on the Fibre, I've got a kelp, it's like a kelp forest. I wanted it to be like a kelp forest for her to swim through. And there were different types of fibre depending on what people picked. So some of the colors came out a little bit differently on the different fibre. And so that is lovely. Both are Honui breeds of sheep, beautiful fibre. I am going to keep some for myself so I can spin some. There's the Union 4-ply merino, and the color is like, it's hard to pick up on camera, but it's like, it's a petrol-y kind of oceany blue. It's got like a yellow, a mossy yellowy green undertone. And then I layered over some different blues, a couple of different blues. And that's it on the BFL sock. So it's wild how different bases pick up the same colors so differently. So, and then there's some merino singles and some beautiful kid silk mohair. So I love the fluff. It always picks up quite a bit of the dynamics. And then these are just big piles of more of the Union 4-ply, which is just superwash merino. Again, that's more of the Union 4-ply, but you can just see how the different colors come out. One's quite a bit more blue. I don't know if that's picking up at all. I'm probably not even close enough. So part of that one then goes to more of that greeny color that's there. And then for the sock sets, I made a cute little mini that's just an earthy, it's the Farmer. And so we've got this cute little mini skein, which was actually not, I just included it as a little extra, but wanted to include the Farmer in the colorway somehow. So we've got a cute little mini, and that can be used either in a sock or as, I thought it's a perfect color for like a little animal from just one of those little Moosh and Friends animals, or, you know, little Bunny O'Deal or Myrtle Bear or something like that. So I thought, oh, that's a nice little color that could be a little animal. So there you have it, the Mystery Club colorway for August, the Selkie Bride, and the background of it, and probably more substance than you thought you were in for in this episode. So, but Bonnie is Bonnie, and Bonnie does what Bonnie does best, and that is to dwell in the depths and the murkiness. So we get what we get, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be back hopefully with some tutorials soon. So thank you for watching, and enjoy. I just had to come back on. I was watching over my video, and I had initially planned, so this color to be the sock little matching mini as a little treat for a little extra. But I hadn't thought about the fact that it actually is the color of a little sealskin, and it's got the little spots. So it's like the Selkie and her sealskin. So I love little synchronous moments like that, where I had intended it actually to be that earthy part of the Farmer, but in actuality, it's her skin. So it's both. It could be this, like, represent the Farmer and her skin. So that kind of makes me super happy. That's bundles of the minis just all in one. I'm probably making my autofocus go crazy, but it's just a nice, it's a nice sealskin color. So with lovely little spots. Just wanted to put that little side note in there. It just made me really excited when I was watching that in actuality, it's almost like I subconsciously created the sealskin. So thank you for watching, and I'm actually going to go now.